Welcome to day 4 of our autumn series. Today we are going to be painting this pair of simple, whimsical acorns in the line and wash style. And just like our last video, we're going to skip any pencil sketching and just dive right in with our watercolor and add pen details at the end. This painting is beginner friendly, it's playful, and it makes a nice complement to the opposite page, our oak leaf that we did in our last video. Okay, let's get started, shall we? And I am starting this painting with yellow ochre because I just love the color, first of all, and I just want that nice golden kind of undertone of our painting. And you can see I just did a very simple tilted U shape and connected those lines at the top, filling that in with more yellow ochre. And I've got plenty of water on my brush as well because I'm going to do wet on wet. And by plenty of water, I mean enough to really saturate the area but not have puddles. And here I've got burnt sienna on my brush. Again, the yellow ochre is still wet, and so I'm just letting those colors blend together as they feel like doing. I love burnt sienna. I like that kind of orangey tone that it's also going to be giving our acorn, and just putting some of that in. And now I've got burnt umber on my brush as well. So I've got 3 colors just blending together, and it's just going to be a beautiful mixture when all is said and done. Drying this completely, and now I'm going to go in and paint the cap of our acorn. And I'm starting again with our yellow ochre. You can leave this step out if you'd like. Honestly, you can go right in with a light brown or a dark brown, whatever you would like. But I, again, like the warmth of the yellow ochre, and I'm skipping the burnt sienna on the cap and just coming in with burnt umber and just letting those blend. Again, we're doing wet on wet. I love how the colors just blend together, and I just like letting watercolor do its thing. That's what it likes to do, its own little thing. And don't worry if the shape of your acorn is different than mine, if the colors are different, it is all good. And have you seen how many different sizes of acorns there are in shapes and colors? I learned that there are around 500 different species worldwide of oak trees, and they produce their own style of acorn. So that gives us a lot of freedom here to just do what we will, and we don't have to worry about perfection or anything like that. Okay, I have let the whole thing dry now before I'm adding some more burnt sienna. And every time you let the paint dry and then add more paint, it's just going to add to the richness of the colors. It just deepens the colors. Yeah, it just gives this more depth. And I'm leaving that kind of lighter portion somewhat in the center on purpose because it's going to act as a highlight basically. And right now I'm sorry, I have to tell you, my throat is a little sore, so it's kind of giving out every now and then. Anyway, now I have got some burnt umber on my brush, and I'm just going to darken up some of the areas, paying special attention right under the cap where there might be a natural shadow there. And I also went around the acorn just very thinly on that right side, and just kind of adding some vertical lines and letting them curve here and there. Again, leaving that center-ish portion lighter. I am going to fill it in. I've got more burnt sienna on my brush, and I'm just adding some more richness here. And now you can see I'm very lightly filling in that color, still wanting it to remain lighter than the rest of the acorn. But I don't want it to be like this harsh oval in the center of our acorn. But you can tell it's just lighter, and when it dries, you're going to see it's lighter yet. And right now I'm just blending those colors even more. I have dried everything again. Apologies for the lighting, but I'm working with natural light here, and it was a very sunny day, and every now and then would go behind the clouds. So that's what I'm working with. Okay, I have got some burnt umber on my brush and just darkening up the cap a little bit and let that completely dry. I'm removing my little clippy because I just need a place to put my hand as I add these little details. And I am just doing kind of little smiley faces to give some texture to the cap of our acorn. And I try to be free with this, but then I also find myself trying to be somewhat systematic, but just play with it. And I'm just being a little bit messy because I don't want it to be perfect. I did do a little practice acorn, and I tried doing a grid kind of where you do like slanted lines and then slanted lines in the opposite direction. And that just looked a little too neat for my liking. So I have let that first couple layers dry, and I'm just adding another dark layer on top just to give it even more texture and depth. I think she's looking pretty cute, don't you? And then on the stem up here, I'm just doing a little line kind of on the left portion of that, as well as on the left portion of the cap. We are going to now come in and start our second acorn. And I have got yellow ochre, and you can see I'm just kind of like imagining. I didn't actually draw the U shape. I was just kind of imagining where that U shape would be if it was on its side there. And I got a little bit too much water in here, so I'm going to just tap my brush on the paper towel and soak that up a little bit. And now we'll fill it in. So this is where it's pretty important to make sure that first acorn is very dry, because if not, it would just start bleeding into our second acorn here, which is not the end of the world because we are going to be using the same colors. But I do want that nice hard line there so that you can see it's actually two acorns and not just one big blobby acorn. If you were going for a more painterly style, that it could actually look very nice. But we're basically doing the same thing that we did for the first one, starting with our yellow ochre, coming in with some burnt sienna, and doing the same thing. So since we're doing pretty much the same things, I am going to speed you through this part. You are welcome to pause, or you can slow down the speed if you would like. But I try to speed up to save your time and just not be quite as repetitive. I have gotten feedback from people that they appreciate it when I speed it up because everybody's time is limited. And I have not gotten any feedback asking me to stop speeding it up. So feel free to leave your feedback in the comments if you want to. This is completely dry, and now I'm going to come in and paint in the cap. Again, same techniques as our first one. So let's speed on up through this. Just a refresher, starting with some yellow ochre, adding in some burnt umber, and then just letting those blend, letting it dry, and then we are adding in our little smiley faces, but sideways this time. Okay, letting that completely dry, and now I'm doing a little shadow, which is pretty much an unrealistic shadow, and that's okay because it's really light in color, but I like it. I just wanted it to be a similar color as our acorns, and that's what I went with. You can do what you would like. You could use, a very diluted black or Payne's gray, blue, whatever you would like. But I appreciated this look, and so I'm going with it. And once I'm finished fussing here, I am going to let that completely dry and coming in with a size 5 brown micron, I think. It might be black. I think it's brown. You can't really tell, honestly, but we are just going to come on in and outline everything. So starting with the nut of the acorn or the body of the acorn and then going into the cap, again, just outlining things. And I will get a little more detail here. For instance, in our cap, we are going to just add in a bunch of little black lines. I started doing it like right under each of the little smiley faces that were already there to kind of indicate a shadow, but then I just decided I'm putting them wherever I want to put them. Just kind of did it quickly and without much thought, and adding a little shadow on that left side again. And then for the second one, we're going to do the same thing. I am going to speed you up through this because same thing, right? And then I'm going to slow it down here because I want to show you that I'm adding some long lines there, and then I'm adding little lines under the cap, lengthening a few of them, and then adding some more on that upper portion. And then samesies over here, you can see a little bit better on this one. Kind of curvy lines on the left, little lines under the cap, lengthening a few of those, and then kind of curvy lines on the right side too, to just give it more shape. And I just think it's so cute. I decided to darken up our shadow just a tad with some of our pen, and I think that adds a lot to it. I really like it. And you can leave it just like this if you're uncomfortable with all that white space. One very simple thing to do is to add a wonky little frame around it. You can do just a little square like this, or double it up like I'm going to do. You could splatter, you could paint in a whole background, or you can just be comfortable with the white space and leave it as it was. Just a matter of personal preference. Okay, day 4 is complete. Join me on Wednesday for day 5.